Hey, thanks for joining. I'm your host, Chris Gennaro. My co-host is Rizk, and today we have Connor White from Wolf King. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on the show. What's up, guys?
Thanks. We're doing good. Uh,
Excellent.
Wish the weather was more like it is in San Francisco, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's
Um,
all calm here, but
let's start by talking about the video that you guys did a little while ago, the one for Wandering Soul. It's a song off your new album, The Path to Wrath. Um, and it's a real kind of interesting video. So I just kind of, I guess, talk about how that came about and some of the background to it.
yeah, for sure. So we saw this artist. He did a video. I can't remember exactly what band it was now. Maybe it was Veil of Nath, but we saw one of their videos, is Chariot of the Black Moth, and they make these really cool stock footage videos, like completely from scratch with like this really grimy, super evil style. And we instantly were like, this is like exactly the aesthetic we like. And so we hit him up and we said, hey man, would you like to work with us? And of course we ended up striking a deal, and he made us we gave him a few loose concepts because the song, as the title would suggest, is kind of about the passage of the soul, kind of once it leaves where we are, and just kind of what happens to your psyche and your spirit after you die. And so we kind of gave him some loose things, like we want a lot of images of kind of like transcending and like moving towards the light and all these kind of like mortal transitional kind of like looks. And so she really nailed that with like that going through the forest, and it's kind of seems like she's kind of like returning to nature when she kind of like rises into the sky. And like we, as far as like the what we wanted the video to look like, just absolutely crushed it aesthetically, and a lot of the decisions they got to make too. So it's like we gave them a lot of freedom. And the song is really grimy and disgusting, and so I think the video kind of like really drives that home. We're super stoked with how that came out.
So
And it's made with you said entirely stock footage. Yeah, they find
uh
like
right, well, I think they shoot some of their own. It's
okay,
they're kind of interesting. They're kind of like very mysterious to people who made them. Like our conversations were kind of, they're kind of like short. We
got
didn't
it.
like really have to sit down and have like a really long conversation. We're just
Yeah,
like in an email, more or less. We're like, this is like kind of what we're looking to have it look like, and they're just kind of
yeah.
like no questions, like perfect, got it. Like I think they're one of those artists that like they're very good about listening to the music and kind of like getting ideas of how they want it to look based on how the music sounds. And like that's exactly what we would want someone to do who's making art for us. So
yeah,
I'm
I
super
can't
stoked with
imagine
it.
that the girl footage is stock. I would assume that they shot that stuff, but then probably mixed in other crap, maybe.
Right, but it was there's definitely an element of like like mystery to it, because like when we got it, I was almost kind of like where did you get this footage? Like, I kind of like, I wish I had more answers for you, but there's, I kind of enjoy that there's like a like an arcane mystery about it. It's like who knows where this footage came from? It could be from another dimension for all we know.
I know. I'm always amazed at videos like that, you know, switch scenes like this, and you're like, holy
Mm,
fuck, like that's 10,000 times more editing than you would need to do normally for like a music video. I would think, if you're switching
right.
if you're switching scenes every half second versus every 5 seconds, that's just crazy. But that
Right.
really
It
looks
seems
like,
like the easiest way would be to have like big chunks of footage at once, like unbroken. But yeah, I saw some of the other videos they've done too, like I said, and like one of them was like super ocean themed for this band's Fall Bard, and it had like a totally different vibe. It still kind of had like that super like monochromatic, like black and white kind of look, but all of the subject matter was like totally different. So it's like I'm like really impressed with what they do. So everyone definitely check out Chariot of Black Moth on YouTube and do like really cool work.
you mentioned Veil of Path. You know Vance from there, because I think I read somewhere that you worked with him on a video or something.
Yeah, he actually did our video Sanctuary for us, which is another song from the Path of Wrath. And we our last tour before COVID happened was with Veil of Nath,
Oh,
and Gorod as well. Shout out to Gorod. And so he ended up shooting us live a couple of stops on that tour. just, you know, before he played his own set, and ended up throwing that footage together like to make a like a little live music video. So it was kind of like a nice humble music video, just like some cool live shots, make it look super badass, smoke and grayscale, and you know, serves its purpose nicely. He did a super good job on that.
And then the other video project I guess we can talk about while we're talking about video projects is the thing. I guess you did it for Decimal Magazine, the Live at Rapture thing. I watched that. I guess there's maybe 7 or 8 songs on there. The sound is really good. Like sometimes you see live videos and the sound is like atrocious, you know, because they're doing it through the video camera mic or whatever. But clearly that's like, you know, no, but seriously that is. And I'm just like, why would you do this?
I've seen a couple, yeah.
But that seems like it's almost like recorded in a recording studio, and so the sound is fucking awesome.
Well, first of all, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That was really fun for us to do. We actually did that some months before it ended up getting released, but just kind of with how things worked out, it came out later. But yeah, that was actually recorded in the studio where we recorded most of the Path of Wrath. And so the engineer who recorded the album was actually the engineer who recorded that live session. And so with that, we kind of told him, we're like, hey, we want to keep like a really raw sound, because that was our focus on the Path of Wrath record as well, as like minimal sampling, minimal, you know, filters and compression and stuff, just like raw microphone audio, super like dirty. And so we kind of just try to keep that going. And he knows, like, we've worked with Cody for a really long time, Cody Fuentes from Rapture Studios. He's a great friend and a great studio tech, and he definitely knew what we wanted. We didn't even have to tell him. He's like, yeah, I'll keep it. Like, I can make it sound pretty close to the record, but while still having it feel live. And that was exactly what we wanted.
So how did you get hooked up with that? Like, how did that come about with Decimal Magazine?
So we had recorded that, and we were just sitting on it for a bit, and we were just talking with our management team. We're like, what do we want to do with this live set that we have here? And Decibel has been kind enough to host some of our premieres in the past. Like, we have a good relationship with them. They always take good care of us. So we just got in contact with them, and they said, sure, yeah, we'll blast this out for you. And so it was kind of, they were sort of, you know, helping us out with that, which was nice.
It's funny. I figured it was the other way around, that, you know, they went to you and set it up, but it was you went to them. So,
right. We were just like, hey, like, we got this cool thing we did. I know you guys like dig us. So like, you want to work together with it? And they're just like, yeah, sure, no problem. This time it was good.
I saw that you got a little tour booked. So maybe like a dozen dates with 2 bands that we're familiar with, Skeletal Remains and Teeth.
Hell yeah.
We had Rolly on and Chris and Mike from Skeletal Remains, so that's definitely going to be a good time for you guys.
Sick, man. Yeah, they're really sick, dude. Really sick, as you know.
As we know.
Also, really, really good guys to talk to. It's a funny first attempt. We thought the guys from Skeletal Remains were doing the interview in a moving car, but luckily it was not. It was not. It seemed that way, but no, it was wound up. His wife was driving. I don't know. It was funny. It was pretty funny. It was like, we're like, you were in the car, and like, he's like, no, I wasn't driving. It was my wife. And I was like, oh, okay. But
yeah, whatever works, man.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a thing with our show, is doing interviews with people in cars.
That's right. Yeah, because a lot of people will do it in a stationary car, because like, I guess they're like having band practice after or something. Yeah, we've done like a handful where people are in the car. Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's the only way you can get like a quiet and closed space where the audio is going to be decent. But
you're right.
But yeah, that's funny. Maybe if we're going with the moving vehicles thing, maybe if I'll do another interview with you guys, and I'll be like in a motorcycle sidecar, like on the freeway or something, wearing like goggles and the scarf and shit.
Yeah. The phones mounted on your helmet.
Yeah. I'll have the GoPro. That'll be sick, dude.
Yeah.
That'll be so sick.
Yeah.
Other videos you did, there was a bass playthrough that you did, which was kind of funny because it's clearly the audio from the record, I think, but the video, you know, usually when you see that, you know, somebody doing a guitar playthrough, it's like it's like here, it's like in your basement or whatever. And that one, like, it's shot like a real video, only it's just him. And you're
Right.
kind of like, where are the other dudes from the band?
Yeah. Well, that was cool actually, because we all ended up doing some playthroughs for this album. Like Jake did a guitar one that I think we're gonna put out a little later, and I did one for Wandering Soul as well. But we all did them like independently of each other. Like I went and did my drum one like solo, and just handled it myself. And so did Brian, bass player, and Jake, the guitarist. And so Brian, he just hit up his buddy, who's a videographer, and they just whipped it up. And that was just their idea to do it that way. And like when they first showed it, I was like, whoa, this is like super badass. Like I thought they did a really cool job with it.
Yeah, it's more
like I was almost like mad that I already did mine. I was like, damn, I should have made mine look like that.
Yeah, it's more like an official video than what you would think of as a playthrough, like
right.
Like the quality is just like a little too good.
Right, with the candles and the shit too. Well, like it's the guitar intro. It's like the perfect way to start it when the bass hasn't come in the song yet. Just like setting the vibe, kind of. It's like a spooky intro or whatever. But yeah, I thought that was a super cool playthrough.
I'm just looking through my notes here, and one of the big ones I just can't ignore was you got to talk to these guys about weed.
We get that a lot.
Yeah, no, but because
I don't mean that in a bad way.
No. Well, here's one of the funny things I think about you guys is like your artwork does sort of look like a stoner metal band a little bit. Like it's got that. It's got that vibe, and I listen to a lot of doom metal, so I'm like sort of used to like that type of logo and that type of like everything metal is skull, but just the way that they're done. But obviously, right. You guys are not a doom, you're not a stoner rock band, but yet you do have a lot of pop themes going on.
Right. I think that's I don't know. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. Like we do all love like doom and stoner and like that slow tempo, like super badass. Like I mean, who doesn't love like Mono Lord and Sleep and like Yob and stuff like that? Like it's like classic metal stuff. Even if you're into like the thrashy fast stuff, sometimes you just got to wind down with like some Yob and just ride it out. So like we love that, and I feel like we kind of borrow a little bit of like stonery doomy stuff, like a tiny bit. Like we'll have just like a few slow drony parts kind of mixed in, but yeah, that's definitely not like our main sound, as you mentioned. But as far as the weed thing, we definitely are all like stoners to some degree. It kind of like comes and goes. Like sometimes we're really chiefing it and sometimes we're kind of like taking breaks, but I think like we're just really silly guys, I think is what it comes down to, and it's like it's really hard to like be silly in a metal band without like undermining, like if you're trying to make that kind of like evil looking art, it's tough to be funny at the same time, so I feel like we don't want to have like silly like funny goofy videos. Like we want to have like dark and like brooding and like really evil videos, but we are also like very silly like stonery like goofballs. And so I feel like the kind of stoner element of our band, like that one, the 420 stay at home shirt, where it's like the tour shirt, but all the dates on the back just say smoke weed instead of a date. Like that's just like that's just kind of represents we're just kind of like silly dumbasses. And so I think that the weed element of the band definitely is just kind of like a fun way to express that like we're not serious all the time. We're not always like spooky evil metal guys, obviously. And anyone who knows us definitely does not think of us as like spooky evil metal guys. We're definitely like silly asses. The weed is just kind of expresses that side of ourselves.
Are those shirts still available? I have a feeling like a lot of people would be interested in that.
I think there might be a few left. That's actually a great question. But tell you what, I can actually just pull it up real quick here. But but anyways, to avoid dead air, I think those shirts are still available on our Big Cartel. But maybe we could toss that in the description or something.
I don't know. Is this a good segue to just talk about your influences and your style and stuff? Before the interview, me and Eric were talking about how we've seen some descriptions of like blackened hardcore, and I hear little bits of hardcore in there, a little things in here, but it's more like way more black or blackened metal or blackened death metal.
Right.
So I guess talk about some of your influences.
Sure. Yeah, I think the blackened hardcore thing, like that's kind of like what we've been described as a lot. That's kind of like has followed us from some earlier material. I think we might be a little less hardcore than we used to be, and a little more on the metal side. But we definitely still have some of that flavor in there with some of the more like beat downy drum parts and like two steps and stuff. But at the end of the day, it definitely, I think, still digests like metal and not like, you know, hardcore. But it's interesting because when I think about our influences, and I'm thinking about the other guys' influences as well, and a lot of the bands that I think we love and respect and like are inspired by the most don't even really sound like what Wolf King sounds like. Like for me personally, some of my most influential bands, not to name drop them again, but like Yob and like some like really eclectic stuff that we don't even sound like Misery Signals and like Architects. Like I listen to like a lot of stuff that maybe people might not expect from like, I don't know, like the blackened metal band. But like I know bands that really influence our sound are also like Power Trip, Gate Creeper, and like Converge, kind of stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think what has always attracted us to this style of music, myself included, is just like big fat riffs like drive everything. It's like the engine of the band. And like I feel like my job is to just as the drummer of this particular band, to just showcase like some of those riffs, because Jake has like he has a great talent for coming up with just some like real slammers. And so I feel like sometimes the best thing to do for me as the drummer is just try to get out of the way and let those big fat slappers just do what they do. So but as far as the like where our riff inspiration comes from, I know like those last few bands I mentioned are big influences for our guitar player and fellow songwriter Jake.
I guess maybe we can talk about some of the bands you've played with. I thought it was interesting that you played with Abigail Williams, because I think their vocalist sounds a little bit like your guys.
I
like
can see
Tim.
that for sure, actually.
Yeah, I definitely was like when I saw that. And then Rivers and Nile, I think you guys were playing with them too for a little bit.
Yeah, that was those two tours, the Abigail Williams tour and the Rivers of Nile tour, were two of like my favorites that we've ever done for sure.
And Rivers Nile, they have like a mix too of like they're throwing in different stuff.
Yeah, I really like the way they've like developed that band into what it is. It's like truly like a musical experience. Like I'll just leave it at that. But also just to rewind for a second, like I don't know how I forgot these, but like for influences, I kind of blanked when you asked me earlier. Like Emperor and like Dissection, like those old like black metal bands. I think like for all of us, those are like really foundational like bands. So I think like even more so like now than ever, like definitely those are big ones too. Like we've listened to a lot of that like older like foundational black metal. Like that's anyways, I totally forgotten. I just wanted to make sure I threw that in there.
How'd you get hooked up with Prosthetic?
That was actually through our manager Joel. He's that was actually right before I joined the band, because I joined the band in 2017. And I know it all kind of happened in a row for Wolfgang, where they got a manager and then a booking agent and then a record label, kind of like boom, boom, boom on the heels of Loyal to the Soil, the debut album. And so once the guys had recorded Loyal to the Soil and they just had it ready and they were just, shopping it around, and Prosthetic came with an offer that everybody was happy with. And that's, the rest is history. We love Steve, the head of Prosthetic. takes good care of us, super good dude, and we appreciate that whole team over there.
Yeah, it's always interesting. I like what the chicken and egg scenario is. So I guess you answered my question, is if if you got signed off your first EP, or if you had recorded Loyal to the Soil first and then got the record deal.
Right. Yeah, they had Loyal in the chamber and they shopped it to Prosthetic, and they ended up, being interested.
Because it's funny. It's just kind of funny because I think sometimes you see bands and they have like some really piss poor sounding demo, and then like their first LP is like on like a decent label, and you're like, how did this label like see that this was going to be good from this shitty demo that came out? And then you're like, no, it's because they recorded it first and then got the record. But like no label listened to that demo and said this is a good idea.
Well, maybe the label saw them live. Maybe.
Yeah, that's the thing that's happened too, for sure, where sometimes like a band will really just capture someone's, the right person will be at the right show. Like I've definitely, that wasn't how it worked out for us necessarily, but I've like seen that happen to people I know. We're just like, they're playing like a big fest or something, and some label head was there to see another band. They're just like, oh, who the hell are these guys? Like that definitely happens.
You want to talk maybe about the writing process and how some of the songs come together?
Yeah, definitely, man. So I wrote all of The Path of Wrath with Jake, me and him collaboratively, basically in my garage, which is cool. And so I have an electric drum set in addition to my acoustic one, which is nice for writing because it lets us have like long sessions into the night, without obviously getting the cops called or anything, without needing a practice space. And so we would just basically get in my garage, just fire up the electric drum set, and Jake, our guitarist, he just has a big fat stockpile of riffs that he's always like adding to. And so every time we would have a practice, whether we were just doing a rehearsal or planning on writing, he would always have a few new riffs. And then he would either have an idea for what kind of drums to go with it or no idea at all. And I would just get to come up with something. But either way, it would always just start with one riff, just kind of jamming that, feel it out, and maybe two riffs, maybe we'd have a secondary riff for it to go into. But we really do it with the old fashioned way, where we will just jam on riffs and just see what we like improvisationally flow into. And like, that's like a lot of riffs have been born from us just kind of like spitballing, like jamming in the garage with no plan. And so that, I feel like that's like a really fun way to do it. It's really organic. Sometimes we'll sit down and we'll map out whole parts and we'll be like, okay, in the transitions, and it'll be much more deliberate. But a lot of times we really do just riff it out and like discover things, which always feels like really rewarding.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, like, I'm just getting this vision in my head of you guys just with your headphones on, playing crazy black and death metal, but yet if you're not having the headphones on and you're in the room, it just sounds like, acoustic guitar and rubber being pelted,
Yeah, trust me, that the sound of like rubber pads being smacked with sticks at like hilarious rates, like that sound is like burned into our brains for sure. It's like I've heard that sound way more than I would ever care to, but but it's great. It really unlocks our ability to just have long writing sessions.
So do you guys, obviously if you're listening to it on the headphones, you're recording it on, are you recording it through a digital audio workstation, or is it just like more like just hit the record button and let it go?
So we actually, when we're doing our little electronic jams like that, we just, I just plug into an amp and he plugs into an amp too, and we just blast it out with no headphones. And so when we want to record a little playthrough or something, we do it super, DIY style and just leave out the phone recording. And then using that like raw little jam audio, like Jake will go into the computer and like actually record demos, and then from there like songs become finished basically. So it goes from like a jam on the electric kit, and we like get the song kind of like the skeleton mapped out. And once we get the song kind of start to finish, we'll we'll just jam record like a super rough version of it, and then we'll go in and like put like electronic drums to it and like make the final template for the song basically, and then we can write lyrics for it and the song becomes complete.
When you're recording though, it is with the acoustic set though, the final.
Yeah, exactly. The electronic set is just for convenience really, because like we've had a really rough time getting an affordable practice space around here after our last one, and so I mean, just this is a long shot here, but for the love of God, if anyone's listening, if you have a free practice space in the Bay Area, just let a brother know, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah,
but no, it's like when we do have times where we like really sit down and like have like a plan, like this go here, this go there, and then that and that and that. But a lot of times like it really is kind of like the high school version of like we'll like, you know, smoke some weed and just start riffing and songs will just kind of materialize.
Cool.
Yeah, man, super fun.
Yeah, no, so okay, so it's no headphones at all, but you're just playing low at a low volume.
Right, exactly. But it's low enough to be a minor annoyance for anyone inside the house, but not for the neighbors.
Again, something I picked up from another interview that I heard with you guys, and I'll put those links in the description along with links of some of the other bands we talked about.
Sick.
You know, if we're talking about something, you're like, who the fuck is Rivers of Nile or Abigail Williams or whatever, you don't know that stuff. You know, I'll have all the links in the description. You can go check that stuff out.
Badass, man.
So the story that I was referring to is just the COVID thing, and apparently, I guess you were in Europe when that stuff hit, and I think your tour maybe got cut short by just a touch, and then they were like out.
Oh, we were on tour, but we were stateside, thankfully.
Oh, you were stateside, okay.
Yeah, but we couldn't have been luckier with how it worked out, because when like there was, as everyone kind of remembers, for weeks and weeks before like the lockdown, there's definitely like whisperings of like, oh, this COVID thing. But it was kind of my experience going on the road at that time and talking to everyone all over the place is nobody really took it very seriously. You know, it was kind of like a running joke almost for most people at the shows. Like I remember one time at one show, Tim like coughed into the mic, you know, between songs, and it was like, oh, sorry. And then someone in the crowd yelled COVID, and like everyone, like the whole crowd like laughed. Like everyone laughed. It like killed. It was just funny in retrospect. But yeah, so we just got back to the West Coast, and we were about to play Santa Cruz on the 13th of March, I believe, which is right, like basically our hometown area, and that got canceled. But by the grace of God, we were basically already home. So our last 3 dates got canceled, but again, just by pure luck, it got canceled right when we were by our houses.
Wow.
Because we know guys, like we have buddies that literally when lockdown came down, they had just got, like they were in the airport at Europe, like still. It's like, dude, I'm so sorry, dude. Just get on a plane and just fly right back. Like, oh my God. Like makes me sick thinking about it.
It's terrible.
Yeah. But how were you with the recording process? Because I think maybe your new recording had just wrapped up too or something.
Yeah, we had just finished recording The Path of Wrath just a couple months before that. And so when we were on the road for that tour, we were getting back like final masters from Jack Shirley, who mixed and mastered. And so I remember specifically being in front of the Foo Bar in St. Louis, listening to the album in the van, and just being with the guys and being like, I think this is the final mix, guys. Like, I think this is it. And it was just like it was a fun, rewarding moment where it's kind of like, oh, wow, I think the album's done. It's like very cool. I remember exactly where I was sitting and where the whole scene and everything. Just one of those memories, you know?
I have a note here that you were playing with Suffocation, but I'm not sure if that was a show that's coming up or just passed.
Oh, that was actually a couple of years back, and I have to
Oh,
say, or not, maybe not a couple. I guess with COVID, shit, time is like meaningless now. But yeah, that was actually a really, really badass show. It was a send off for one of their longtime members, and like the turnout for that show was insane at the Oakland, this venue called the Oakland Metro, which is a place we played several times. Like, there's been several like really nice tours that we've had the pleasure to open up for at the Oakland Metro. Like Dark Funeral was one that was really badass, and Septic Flesh, and then that one and Spite's CD release show have all been at the Oakland Metro, and it's just when that place is packed, like it is a good time. It is an absolutely great time. And that Suffocation show is absolutely no exception. Amazing night. I just remember I had work at like 6 a.m. the next morning. I just remember I was so bummed that morning, but it's all worth it.
You guys don't, a lot of times when we're talking to other bands, there's like a zillion side projects they all got. I don't think you guys like have any side projects, or at least none that I could find.
Yeah, I actually, that's funny you bring that up. I was just talking to someone else in the music scene around here about maybe starting up a little something, but it's far before the stage of being able to reveal anything. But no, Wolf King, I think we all are pretty busy dudes, like working wise and with Wolf King and everything. But we have a couple songs of like different styles that we kind of write just and keep to ourselves. So maybe someday some other, music could come out of that, but that's highly unlikely. We're all pretty singularly focused on Wolf King for sure. It's like our baby.
So that's kind of interesting. So those are tunes that are recorded, but you're just sitting on them because you're not.
Oh, not recorded. Just kind of like stuff like riffs we jam on from time to time that are a little different, that we just
written, but not recorded.
Right. More just kind of having fun. But maybe sometime down the road we would have some other little thing, but that's, I don't want to get anyone all fired up or anything. That's not like a real thing that's in the works or something. So.
It feels like when I talk about shit, I like, what am I going to do? And I talk about stuff and I know that it's not coming out till 2026. And
exactly.
It's like, why am I even doing anything?
Well, yeah, I kind of laughed after I even said that, because I was like, why did I even like bring that up? It's like literally just something we like do every like 6 months. We'll just like jam on some silly riffs, but people can think what they may, but all of our energy is focused on the next Wolf King LP for sure.
Okay, well then that's a segue into talking about that and what's next. And do you have stuff written for another album? Or
yeah, I think man, I'm like such a bad secret keeper that I'm just like, my first instinct is like, yeah, you want to hear it? I'll send you some demos. But it's like, unfortunately I can't. But no, I think we have like probably 4, 5 and a half songs like done.
Nice.
And I think it's like by far like crushes, not crushes, I don't want to insult our past albums, but like I think it's the most crushing like stuff we have so far for sure. Like I think it'll definitely mark like a new generation for Wolf King. It's like I think Jake is really stepping it up with the material he's writing, and I'm trying to do the same. I'm like super pumped on it. Yeah, so like I think maybe a couple more months we should have like the material ready for an LP, but then all the other steps that come after that, hopefully we can get going on that as soon as possible. But we are writing a lot. We've had a ton of writing sessions through COVID, ton of hours spent just working through songs that started one way and then changed 50 times and now they're another way. Like we're definitely guys who will modify and tweak a song 50 times before it's done. So we can be a bit slow in that regard. Like I'm sure if we wanted to, we could just churn out songs that are 85% as good as we would want them to be, but we're kind of perfectionists in that way.
And so the new album will be on Prosthetic also.
Yeah, it's a 3-record deal that we had with them. This will be number 3, so it's gonna be awesome. Super looking forward to it.
Cool. And you said the last album was mixed by Jack Shirley. He's done a ton of stuff. He's from out west, right?
Yeah. He's most people know his work from Deaf Heaven, because
Yeah.
obviously they're a really big band. But I think his work with Oathbreaker, actually, if you've heard of them, is what drew us to him, because Jake and also myself are really big Oathbreaker fans. More so Jake, but I really love that band too. And he mixed and I believe mastered their records, and they just sound like exactly how we wanted ours to sound, honestly.
Okay.
So we were super thrilled when he agreed to work with us. I think he did a sick job.
Cool.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
The Oathbreakers, one other band I'm trying desperately to remember, I can't, but came on, and that was like one of two or three bands that they said had influenced me. And if I think of it, I'll put it in the description. But yeah, that's not the first time we've heard them come up as an influential band.
Yeah, they're really unique, and I feel like they haven't hit like the mainstream success that they probably deserve, but I think they do something that absolutely no one else is doing, and yeah, we really like them.
I guess let's close it. We're getting sort of at time here. Why don't we close it up by just maybe talking about the San Francisco scene and what it was like pre-COVID and what you're hoping it gets back to, and maybe who were some of the other bands that you enjoyed playing with that we haven't talked about.
Okay, for sure. Well, it's been kind of odd just getting my feet back into going to shows and everything. Like the Rivers of Nile show that I went to, where I got this shirt, it was actually my first like show post COVID. I'd been to some like dive bar and outdoor kind of shows, but it's not the same until you're on a venue with a real system and everything, the real shebang. So I wish I could say I knew more, because I think COVID made shut-ins out of a lot of people who weren't necessarily before all this happened.
Yeah.
Like I used to go to a lot more shows, and I don't know if it's just that I got used to being more of a homebody, or just that I work so much more now. It's probably that, actually, honestly. But it seems like things have kind of resumed back to normal. Like the volume of shows I see and the attendance at the shows that I see seems like things are like back in full swing over here, which is really nice to see. Like a lot of my friends' shows have been like really well attended, and we've like been kind of waiting to play our first show back. November 4th is going to be our first one since March 2020. And so I don't know, I'm obviously extremely excited. I cannot wait, but I'm like kind of nervous just to dive back in, but I know it's going to be awesome. So, but yeah, I look forward to seeing firsthand kind of what Wolf King is like live post pandemic, because we'll be playing a bunch of songs we've never played before, like all this new material. And yeah, it's a brave new world out there. Looking forward to this Skeletal Remains tour.
Do you play like the songs you're writing for the new album? You will play those live or no?
Not yet. I don't think they're. I think just because we put out Path of Wrath and we haven't even been able to play any shows for it, right. I feel like we got to kind of emphasize Path of Wrath for a bit. For sure, it would feel premature to bust out the new stuff. But trust me, I'm always ready to play new shit. But I didn't mention this before, but at least drum wise, the new songs are so much harder and more demanding that I'm almost like, shit, what did I do here?
More technical to play?
Yeah, just faster and more like stamina demanding, like tempo wise, and just like, this one song we're working on, it's just a sustained blast at a pretty high tempo for a very long time. And like, I've been playing drums for a long time, but like being just like a pure speed demon was never really my like MO. Like I'm a bit more of a groove based drummer, but I've been working on the pandemic on mostly just endurance and speed. So kind of trying to showcase that more on the new stuff.
And are you coming to the East Coast at any point?
So this is almost kind of a little exclusive here. So
Oh shit!
don't
Exclusive
tell
content.
nobody, but I can't go into too much detail, but we are announcing a tour in the next week that will take us over there. Yes.
Nice.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I cannot give you too much more than that, but we are announcing a full US tour in the next week.
Awesome. All right, stay tuned for that.
Definitely. Yeah. Keep going to the Wolf King page. You will definitely be very awesome.
Okay. I think we just blanked there for a little bit, but yeah, again, your Facebook page will be in the description, so we can check that out. And how many bands are we talking about? 3 bands? 2 bands?
It will be 3 bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I know you've played Vitus before, so I assume that would probably be one of the stops on the show, on the circuit.
I doubt anyone's gonna get mad at me for this, but yeah, that's one of the shows. I hope nobody gets mad at me for that.
All right, don't get
If
mad.
so,
it's all Chris. He's pressuring people. They said they're gonna announce it next week.
Sorry, we just crashed my internet for a second.
There's a weed smoking break.
Yeah, smoking break. We're apple cider breaks. It's just crashed. We're back now. Let's just wrap it up before we lose it again. But
yeah, dude, it's definitely there's some kind of spooky Halloween curse going on here.
But yeah, so we just said we're hoping to come to Vitus.
Yeah.
And we were trying to get the scoop, and maybe we got a little bit of a scoop, so that's good.
Yeah, we'll be making it to the East Coast soon, which is great. I'm dying for it. I love the East Coast. I almost feel like my soul is of that of an East Coastian, but maybe that's just because I've lived over here too long. But
okay,
yeah, super stoked to be coming back. So stay tuned.
Okay, that's good. Don't come in the winter though. The winter here sucks, but not compared to like Canada, I suppose. But I don't know. I'd be in San Francisco for the winter. That's where I'd be.
For sure, man. Yeah, your winter home.
Okay. Anyway, that's it, I guess. Let's wrap it up. And thanks for joining, everybody. And check out the links in the description. Where we'll love to see Wolf King when they hit the East Coast. And Connor, thanks for coming on and talking with us.
Yeah, of course, dude. It was great hanging out with you guys. I had a fun time, and thanks for putting me on the show.
Okay. Thank you. Later, everybody.
Bye, guys.